Hello everyone and welcome back to some Friday shenanigans and Diablo 4. We're gonna do one more episode and we're gonna talk about some stuff I've been thinking and leveling. As you can see, I'm level 79 and I've been thinking about some stuff during playing. It actually was... Sorry, I needed to scratch my nose. Well, let's go with a 48 this time, Nightmare Dungeon, if we can. This will be a bit tricky because the mobs hit hard now and depends on the quests and placement, but I've done one 48 before, so let's see. Also, as I was saying, what I was thinking actually came out in the comments in the previous video, so I would like to talk about that. It's about Diablo 4 and how it did and what I think it's at now and a couple of other things. Oh, I also changed the weapon from a two-handed staff to a one-handed rod and focus. So, yeah. As I was saying, yeah, Diablo 4, we all remember how it was at the start. It didn't have a great start, to be honest. It kinda... It's not gonna say failed, but left people wanting some more than it gave you at the start. So that's a definite. But the problem is... but they've been working on it. The problem is, it's... well, sometimes it was a little bit better, sometimes it was a little bit worse, the work they put in. And I was saying in the previous one that they seem to be on a better track right now. But also... I think this will be one of the worst times for them. What I mean by that is they are starting to go in a better direction, but there's still a lot of stuff that isn't okay and a lot of stuff that could be better, but that's normal in games, that you could do better, and depending on the time and resources you have, that's normal. But this will be quite a demanding time for them, as PoE 2 is on the horizon. At least we get more news about it, more videos about it, so you can definitely feel the pressure. We got Last Epoch, which had a pretty nice debut. It has its own problems. I played it, even on Friday Night Shenanigans, if I recall, and it had its own problems, but it was quite fun. So yeah, I mean, having some competitors on the market is always great for the consumers and for us, for the players, that is, because they need to step up their game to be relevant, and that's where we get the best products. But whoa, there's a lot of those guys. But there's one more thing. They made a not so good first impression, so even if the team tries and they have better ideas now, or maybe a better team composition now to help them with some experience maybe, or other good ideas. The thing is, the players had their first taste of the game and have their first impression of the game. It will be hard as heck to, to make people forget about that first impression that didn't work so well. And honestly, the big expansion, the Vessel of Hatred, if I remember, that they're trying to market, is their first big opportunity, and I think their last opportunity to make a good impression on people. And that's pretty dangerous, so, because, whoa, that was close. If they mess this one up, there's no coming back from it. They will lose a substantial player base, I think, and even if they do good in, let's say, a second expansion... Whoa, I was busy talking and forgot to push the button. In, let's say, a second expansion, or third expansion, or whatever down the line, a patch or something. I mean, it will be hard, because most of the player base won't trust them. Most of the player base does not trust them now. And that's after the first failure, so like I say, this will be hard as heck to make good on, Damage has been done. And I don't know how we can actually... Whoa. how we can actually fight this. But yeah, well, made a not so good product. They faced the consequences, and now they need to learn from that. It's how it is, you know. You can't fix everything with a patch or an expansion, which will be paid. So that's even more pressure from the players for it to be good. Because if the paid expansion is bad, oh buddy, this will not be great for them. And we can be sure it will be paid, and we can be sure it won't be cheap. So better watch out for that. And yeah, as for the expansion itself, like I was talking, I have a bit of a problem with how they designed it. Or maybe not a problem, I have a problem thinking about how can they iterate on this design. Because the skill tree, yeah? You can see the skill tree progression, and we have the mastery progression on the other slot. Here, how do we do this here? If they add the expansion, will they add new skills? We all would want new skills to play around with new builds, but we only get skill points till level 50, then we get mastery points. So what now? Do you give us more levels? But then how do you split them between masteries and skill points to not make trivialize content? Not trivialize the content by making extraordinary powerful builds that maybe don't even use the new skills. Or how do you make people use those new skills if you don't give them those skill points, etc, etc. I have a couple of ideas of my own, but the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, it's not a trivialized design choice, and I would prefer it not to be trivialized. Someone needs to think about it more than a couple of minutes, you know? Whoa. Come on, come on. Okay, golden. We should be good now. Yeah. So, yeah, there needs to be a good proposition here, because you can't just add more skill points onto it and just go, you know, branch down. Maybe a good idea would be to branch not vertically but horizontally. You know, give you a actual tree. So now you don't have to go like this. You could go, maybe I'll go here to those main abilities like fireball, etc, etc. Or I'll go this branch with another different set of core abilities. And you can do a you can do a much different build now. And then you can branch to the main path again if you like those passive skills or if you like some basic skills. And you can branch out again to the alternate path. See, you get a real skill tree. You could get a real one. That would be cool. And now the masteries. I don't know how I feel about the masteries, cause we have the basic nodes, which are just status increases. I mean, okay, I get it. But the problem here is, and the problem that I think they didn't do much homework with, for example, maybe watching on Path of Exile's skill tree. Or maybe Last Epoch's skill progression. Although Last Epoch a bit less, it's more apparent in Path of Exile. When you look at those masteries, and you look at rare nodes, like here, reduction from elite enemies and plus 100 to armor, and you get a bonus of 6.5 reduction, damage reduction from elite enemies, if you have enough intelligence. Sorry, I needed to sneeze. I'll translate this because it's in Polish. So this is a rare node. But what about a legendary node that's even bigger? Okay, I'll also show you the glyphs. You can insert a glyph, which gives you another something percent to something, or less percent from something else. Okay, but you say they are also legendary nodes. For example, let's see here. Your ice abilities do increase damage to vulnerable enemies. Damage is increased by 15%. The bonus is doubled if the enemy is also frozen. Okay, but it's also only percentage here, percentage there. See what I'm getting at? We have a big old mastery set that they even were proud of, but that big old mastery set is just percent here, percent there, percent less, percent more. I get it that, for example, normal nodes or for example even the rare nodes, or would say some better nodes, bigger nodes, would give that, okay, but you could have do at least with the legendary nodes or with the glyphs, you could have put more, you know, something more inventive into it to change the skill. Maybe frozen orb goes sideways, not like this, and bounces, or the explosion from frozen orb is something else, or etc. You get the drift. For it to change a little of your abilities, not have just a normal percent here, percent there, because not only is that a bit boring, you have to compete with Path of Exile nodes, which not all are those game-changing, ability-changing ones, but a lot of them give something more than just basic percentages. For example, we have the blood magic one, which makes you use HP instead of mana. We have one that makes you constantly low on health, but you get a lot of bonuses to energy shield. You get one that disables something and enables something else. For example, makes you deal no physical damage but converts this all to fire damage. You get the drift. I won't give you examples from all the Path of Exile skill nodes on the tree. You get what I'm saying. Not all nodes are like that. Well, let's not pretend that all nodes are those game ability changing messiah nodes that Path of Exile only does. No, not all of them are like that. And it's not feasible that all of them would be like that. I mean, you gotta have normal nodes, and you can't. It's hard to have infinite ideas that you can do with those nodes. You know, some need to be normal. So yeah, whoa, that was a nice one. So yeah, but there are a degree of those, and there are quite a lot of those, that changes the way you play, your play style. So I would like the Vessel of Hatred to also think about that. You know, the way you can change your play style with just one skill investment. Well, maybe not one skill investment, but investment down the line. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, this will be hard on this level of difficulty in the Nightmare Dungeon. So I probably will wait this out and won't do it fully. Yeah, I'm gonna wait this out, I think. Because I can get one shot at it if I don't pay attention. So yeah, this is something that, if you ask me, they need to kind of think about. If not even focus and do a, 10, 20, 50 of those abilities, they at least need to think about it and give us, I don't know, 10 of them. At least give us some for each class to have. So we can change up those builds a lot more than just, oh, a build that uses one skill, a build that uses another skill, and everything else is the same. Because we like builds. In ARPGs we like items, we like sweet drops, and we like skills and builds. That's definite. Okay, that ended, so we can go back. Didn't get the gold one, but I didn't want to die, so... And it's kinda hard for me to talk and play at the same time if I need to do dynamic stuff. Not used to it still. If you can believe me, after all those hours. So, yeah, that's what I said, it needs a degree of thinking about it, not just glancing over the idea for 10 minutes. And you don't have much, like I said, opportunities, because if Vessel fails, you won't have much more chances for a good impression if you lost the first impression. Whoa. For example, Last Epoch. It did a good first impression. It wasn't revolutionary, it had a lot of problems, but the first impression was very good and people will remember it. and wait for the future seasons and updates. But with Diablo you lost the first impression, because there was a bunch of problems that were apparent even with the big streamers playing, and after a couple of days some were quitting, some were saying that they don't have much fun, and etc. I remember those videos. So yeah, you lost the first impression part, but you can still work on it, you know. It's not like it failed, but like I said, it is crucial with this first expansion what will become of it. At least in my book. I don't see them, if they fail now, I don't see them coming back from it. Let's just be honest. I don't think there's a comeback after failing. And yeah, I mean, there definitely are people that have better ideas than me here, or have similar ideas but better execution, so I'm gonna need to listen. What is it that you're missing, and what is it that could be fun, you know? Also, one more thing that I thought of, seasons. Seasons were also a big gripe here, because of, well, the season not being from the start, that's one thing, but also the way the seasons were handled. Not many did cool mechanics. There were some that did cool mechanics, but what was it, one that people liked? There was the season of Construct, but I saw that people were on the fence with it. I played a little of the season of Construct. Didn't captivate me, to be honest. So yeah. Thing is, this is another problem. Path of Exile, actually. Well, if it's something that's made harder, it's because of Path of Exile. Unfortunate. Well, it's better for us players, though. Because of Path of Exile, players, I think, have a sort of a idea of what they expect when you say there will be a next season, you know. And if I remember, and my memory is kind of wonky, especially since I need to go back about 20 years or so, and the older games, and Diablo 2, Diablo 1, you can actually give them some leeway here, because there weren't many games like that then. When we had seasons in Diablo 2, there weren't things like epic season mechanics that changed the gameplay or give us a new, different mechanic to play with, etc, etc. No, that was just a ladder reset and a patch if something was broken, or if they had an idea, like with the rune words, etc. But the rune words would go even without the season, I think. I don't remember if rune words were with a ladder reset or if they were a different patch. I think they were a different patch, nothing to do with the ladder reset. It's just the ladder reset is a good place to get a patch like this going, you know. So yeah, if I go back in time to those years and those games, I don't remember those mechanics being something that really changed what the game played like. And with Path of Exile, especially not at the start but at the later time, when they came up with seasons, it was always something that changed the way you would approach something, like an additional mechanic, like additionally buffing your skills, your weapons, your items, your abilities, giving you, I don't know, those tattoos were recently giving you sockets in your skill tree, a lot of things that changed. But there was also seasons that changed the monsters, it did them more difficult, the arch nemesis, rare monster abilities, etc, etc. And the point is that those seasons quite frequently changed a lot. And if we remember seasons from Blizzard, there were generally ladder resets, that's one thing. But the second thing is, even in Diablo 3, where they... when they started to do those... I'll go with more glyph XP. When they started to do those more I don't know if complicated is the right word, but slightly more complex ladder resets. It was not at the same level, and I don't know, people are not used to that level now and expect that level and degree of work put into a season, a new season, you know? And it's nothing bad. I mean, you are fighting with other companies for clients, for consumers, and things that are better for the consumer is always good for us since we're the consumer. But if they also don't keep the ball rolling in this regard with the seasons, the people will also lose interest quite quickly, you know? I mean, it's good for us since the mechanic actually affects the gameplay, and we will get a cooler product when we factor that in, but you know, it's an additional degree of work they need to put in, and an additional degree of thought they need to put in, and an additional angle they can fail at. That's what I'm getting to in the end. It's another thing to think about, it's another thing to allocate resources into. You would need a team, a smaller team dedicated to it probably, or I don't know, a couple of people dedicated solely to this. There needs to be ideas and they need to be implemented. And you know how a company is with resources for a product that's sold and a product that won't get high, extraordinary, exorbitant amount of money funneled into it, because those are just seasons, that it's not a new release. So you don't expect that high degree of money coming. I don't know how the item shop is doing here, to be honest. I didn't follow that. I'm not interested in item shop stuff, at least not in Diablo. I wasn't interested in item shop stuff in Path of Exile as well. I just bought some stash tabs on sale, and I bought only a couple of them. One pack, and I had some leftover currency, and I bought one, I think, that I could. So yeah, without the stash tabs it's kinda hard to play. I did play a lot of seasons without the stash tab, so I know how it was. And that stash tab made life definitely easier, although I would prefer not having to buy it for easier use of inventory slots or managing inventory and items, but alas. So yeah, I don't follow the item shops that much, so I don't know how good it sells, but yeah, that seasonal journey, the seasonal mechanics is something that will generate you some money, but also will cost you a lot of money, because the need of having a dedicated team to keep tracks on it, so people will actually want to play. You know, you just can't go stagnant here, because that will cost you in the long run. And I don't know how Blizzard looks like on those types of investments. I mean, we all know how they looked at it when Bobby was at the table, but now I have no idea. There are the investors to satisfy, so probably didn't change that much. Okay, come on, guy. Yeah, neat. Did that 48 without much problems. One dev due to me being talking and playing, and the brain didn't work that well in that moment, but it's okay. Still don't have good items though. Need to work on that, but that's... Whoa. That's just my... Come on, man. I'll die again. That's just my crappy luck. Oh, and okay, when we're talking about Diablo still, and what they need to work out, I am still not 100% sold on the way items are done. This season is an item rework, okay, but there are still some things that I would like to see, and some are trivial. Some are just flavor, but I don't believe we got the game without those. For example, we don't have elemental weapons. We don't have weapons with elemental effects. We don't. I think there are 2 legendary rogue daggers or rogue swords, or 1 unique, or those both are uniques. I don't remember that have effects on them. But there are no elemental weapons. You can have a barbarian with elemental damage weapon, because there aren't any. You can't have a mage with elemental damage weapons. I do have 62.5% more damage being dealt to monsters that are frozen, but that's a conditional damage boost. That's not a elemental weapon. What gives? What happened with the elemental weapons? I don't get that. Some damage reduction, and then I'll go to the rare node for more damage reduction. Pretty nice. So yeah, that's kind of weird, if you ask me. So that's my gripe as well with the equipment and all. I think the modifiers on the equipment could do one more round of, well, to be honest, a couple of more rounds of iterating, because I know that Diablo 2 didn't have much complicated equipment thingies. We only get bonuses, for example, to life, to damage, to, I don't know, we have crushing blow, we had other things like that, but they were basic things. But this, what we have now, it's still not what we should have for it, if you ask me. For example, even that stupid example with elemental damage. If, and now again come back to Path of Exile, and I know again this is a different game, but in Path of Exile, for example, we can do a warrior that swings the weapon, attacks with weapon skills, but does elemental damage. We can even convert all of physical damage to elemental damage. And here either the skill does elemental damage or we're toast. Don't have a way to deal elemental damage if the skill doesn't. I don't like that, to be honest. I don't like it. No, that should be iterated upon, if you ask me. That's not the way to go forward. No, sir. And again, I get a bonus to Meteor. God dang it, game. I would make 5 or 6 Meteor sorceresses by now. Good God, give me something to Frozen Orb. Well, maybe later. Game, maybe later. So, yeah, those are my biggest gripes, and those are my biggest worries when it comes to the expansion, because we all know it will cost, like I said. And if this fails, well, it's not looking that bright for Diablo, especially not this entry. I heard and read somewhere, I think it was even one of the devs that said it, that after they premiered Diablo 4, and after the first couple of months of reception problems and other things, they right away stated and started working on ideas for the next game. I think they know how deeply some mechanics are etched into the code, and that they will have much problems changing them to more complicated or more fun ones, and they started thinking about the next one. But also, as I said a couple of times, I do work in software, and I know how long it takes for a product to leave the stage of idea and the stage of it being a simple project on diagrams and paper to it being a piece of software. Not even playable or usable software, even you know, alpha, beta or pre-alpha software, you know, from an idea to become a piece of code. It takes sometimes a couple of years of iterating with diagrams, documents, ideas, meetings, you know. So they started thinking or working on it 5 years before doing it. It's not or 4 years before doing it. It's not something that rare. 5 is maybe a bit much, but 3 years, 2 years before actually even writing code, that's not that rare. It's not that rare in a company, but if you're an independent dev that you have your own ideas, you have your own code and assets to work on, it does go a little faster, or I would say much more faster, but that's an entirely different beast. I was checking how much time we have. It's 40 minutes now. Could do a one more dungeon, but it would need to be a lower rank. I don't want to go rank 40 or rank 50, sorry, or 49. Let's do a faster one, like rank 35-ish. So this is a lot more complicated than one would think, even if you have the base game to work upon. Especially if you have the base game to work upon, I would say, it's even more complicated than having a clean slate to work upon. Because you need your ideas not only to iterate and take into account player problems and gripes they have with the game, but also the base game and how it will interact with the base software. And sometimes that's a nightmare. It won't be so bad because it's not legacy software like you have in proprietary company software and other usable non-gaming software. It shouldn't be that bad. It's not a remake of a 20-year-old game, but even though you do have more ideas now, probably maybe different technology even available now, and building upon the older base, sometimes it's a very hard thing, especially since when you come back after, for example, a year or two, or even a couple of months of not working, you see your old code and you go like, oh my god, why did we do it like that? And you suddenly get a lot more better idea to do it, but not only is it hard, but also you probably will not get permission for anyone to rewrite this, because that would generate a lot of problems. For example, a new cycle of hardcore software testing. And even if the previous iteration is sucky, but you have it tested by millions of players worldwide, and it somehow works, you kinda don't want to change it drastically, you know? For you to build up new bugs and make it potentially unplayable or broken. Yeah. That's a problem in itself. Building upon an older base. Even if the base is not drastically old. I don't know, it's the way the mind works, you know? Sometimes you just get going on an idea when you're doing the project, and you're thinking, oh yeah, it will work, it's a good idea. But even after a month, when you come back to do some quick fixes and you look at the code, you go like, oh my god, why did we even do this? It's on a first look basis, it's not good, or you have on a first look basis a new better idea that will work exceptionally well, at least that's what you think, and you didn't do it the first time like that, and you're like, why? It shouldn't work, it doesn't work, it's bad. But it's out now, and it works in the grand scheme of things. It does work somehow, and in the long tool chain it builds, and players are potentially either not seeing it or don't have a gripe with that part of the game, but it's baked in, and yeah, that causes problems. That you won't rebuild it. You won't be given permission to rebuild that. So, even though it would make either the game work better, faster, or make it so that new mechanics would be built in easier, they probably won't be able to do it, given by how much work it would cost or how much potential problems it could cost as well, or do, even though it could be a better idea. So those types of ideas, well, at least where I worked, we quite frequently say we'll use that in the next project. And we do use that new acquired knowledge in the new projects, though, you know, there's those old projects that still don't use the worst idea, and you did get that, you did sell it, people did buy it, and maybe they don't like it, and maybe with your new idea you could make something better out of it, but you can't. And we're going back to the first impressions point again. So yeah, like with all products, I think it's not trivial. Not trivial. Software design is not trivial because, well, the way the mind works and the way creativity works is not that trivial. Sorry. But it does make for some interesting conundrums and some interesting problems, at least engineering-wise. That's what I like about this work, you know? That the problems are quite interesting to solve, even though you sometimes not get the opportunities to solve them all. Yeah, let's not do... Oh, maybe let's do this. I was debating whether or not to do this, but we still have time. I mean, it's a shenanigan. I don't need to be careful to fit it into a 30-40 minute window. Sometimes I forget about that. But yeah, it is interesting sometimes how it works, you know? You have so many things to think while doing a software job, and so many things that could go wrong. But I guess that's with a lot more jobs. Still, I know software from the kitchen because I work in it. Yeah. And it also depends highly on the leadership. Because, you know, ultimately they're the ones that say if you can or can't do something with the product. So having good leadership is even... It's on par with having good engineers to work upon it and good ideas, because even the best idea won't give you anything if it's not being implemented or it's being not implemented properly with proper resources, and you lose the most creative people because you were just slave-mongering them and not letting them work properly or work in a way that they can actually physically or mentally be capable of working like that in the longer run. I did see that in more than one company where I worked, because, you know, people just can't go, contrary to what managers think, just go full-on creative working 24/7, you know, without any problems, and having them have a longer holiday period once a year will not mitigate the problem that you're basically running them creatively, you're burning them out creatively and physically and emotionally with, for example, long overtimes or other things. Yeah, so that's why also planning is important, although planning seems to be, well, I get it, it is exceptionally hard if you need to plan a whole, if you need to look system-wide at the software, not only on the lower plane, like, you know, your module or two modules. You need to look you need to look at it from a wide point of view, you know, from the system point of view, how it will work and how it will structure-wise, how it will look and how it will work product-wise. It's a hard thing to do. That's sort of a wide approach and wide point of view. Not all people can do it properly, and that's why we have problems with managing big projects and with people not being content with the management and resources being delivered or used, you know. It's because it's not that easy, and it's not that easy because it's frequently done by people who didn't work that job. If you're lucky enough to be blessed with a manager that was a software developer on his own for a couple of years, from my experience, those are one of the best managers. But it also depends on the people, but they were quite frequently better than managers just being a manager out of manager school or manager courses or training. Those were the ones that frequently didn't understand problems or looked at you like you're sort of an alien when you told them there was a X and Y problem that needed Z and A things to account for and needed more resources, and they didn't understand that just chugging a couple of few people at it won't make it solve itself X times faster, you know? And that shouldn't be that sort of a secret knowledge, esoteric thing to you know, to visualize, but for them that was quite frequently an alien concept. Don't know why. When we take into account other things, not only software, you can't throw people at it and make it, you know, become itself faster. You can't take one baker and 10 bakers and make the loaf 10 times faster. Doesn't work like that. With creative jobs it also doesn't work like that, you know? Or with jobs when you need to manage logical problems, it also doesn't work like that. And I don't know why even after school of some management courses or anything, it's that hard to take into account. It's pretty weird. Isn't that just a way of not managing, but a way of thinking? And I do know that sometimes it's a hard thing to also do properly managing, because sometimes people just don't want to do hard tasks and don't want to tell you the real time it takes to complete something. Some are scared that they won't be able to do it, some of the backlash, scared of the consequences. Some don't like to work in a normal tempo, they just like to, you know, go breakfast, lunching, talking, and use up a lot of time like that. I worked with guys like that were laid off after someone actually got a whiff of how they're working and how much downtime they generate themselves while other people have problems and needed to stay overtime. Yeah, and it makes you trusting your team members actually a problem from a managerial standpoint. And I guess trust is also important, because I had managers that didn't trust us to do our tasks properly, and they always needed to check us, they always needed to confirm something with us, and etc. And they were frequently coming in and bugging us while we were thinking about an algorithm, or we were thinking about a way to solve a problem, and they, you know, reset us when we were close to solving a algorithm problem or something like that. And you can't just snap into full creativity mode and full idea mode after that. It doesn't work like that. You do have problems snapping in, you know. It's really not that easy as it would seem, when even if you got that idea and you even drew some diagrams and wrote some examples, it's not that easy if you're being snapped out of the creative phase of your brain and need to get back to it. And we even asked the managers to not do that. We begged them not to do that. And what do you think happened? An hour later they came back and started asking the same questions, and they did that till we didn't finish the product. Because in their minds, frequently checking made us work faster. Yeah. Problems, yeah. Nice bonus, 90% damage bonus, but the legendary skill is for Inferno, and believe it or not, Inferno, while casting Inferno, rains of meteors rain down. So the game really wants me to do a meteor build. Unfortunately for you, game, I like ice. And I will not do meteor this time, maybe next time. Because it appears to be quite interesting abilities for fire builds. I will think about that. Also, this is quite interesting indeed. Although it doesn't have sockets, which is a problem. Sorry. But it does have very interesting... Well, sockets aren't a problem, I can add sockets to an item. But it has 7.3% damage reduction built in. The 9.5%... Oh, 9.5% freeze duration. Interesting. 14.5% more damage to frozen enemies. Okay, yeah, we can see that, You only need to put sockets in it. Okay, yeah, I'm digging that. We'll make it work. Okay, have the legendary ability now. I'll take also this one. More reductions, always good. Okay, so what's the time? 45 minutes. I think it's enough for this shenanigan. We talked a lot. We came up with some ideas. I would be interested in what you guys think. Do you have any ideas? Maybe you have better ideas that are lying around in your head for quite some time, and you just... Maybe you did post them on a forum or Reddit or GameFAQs. So maybe you would like to post them here in the comments. I would like to take into account other opinions and hear about mechanics you guys think about that could be viable in a game like this. It's always a good thing to get to know new ideas that someone else has thought upon, and you know, give them a thought, give them some iterations, think about them, and maybe you would inspire me for some new and greater ideas as well. Or maybe make me want to see those ideas in a game, and I will, you know, bitch about them on other forums that why didn't you guys do this? People thought about that, and those are awesome ideas. So yeah, so please post your ideas and let's have fun. So before we sign off, I wish you a great Friday night, Friday evening, a great Friday and a great weekend, and cześć.